Michigan Bluff was that 55-mile stop, and the dude that is at the bottom of that hill that they come down has a house there, and he's like grilling food up and selling popsicles and selling ice cream and whatever spectators need to try to stay cool and stuff. I mean, we were sitting on someone's lawn underneath the tree just to stay cool. No one cared. And so yeah, the overall experience was just amazing. Like, everybody was so cool, so just there for kind of the experience, and and I gotta say, Mike was just a machine, man. It was inspirational to just watch him just really just dig down and just go, and like had a plan. The plan did not go astray at all. It went like to the T. I mean, he had us so dialed in before we even set foot on the day of the race day, like with a schedule, with kind of a time frame of what he will be between, a list of what he needed. I mean, it was so well set up. I mean, if we messed something up, it was like we would have been just idiots if we would have messed something up, because the one thing we almost did mess up is we thought we were going to miss him on the first aid station. We were like, oh fuck, are we going to make it? Like, we were like, time was cutting so close to when we thought he was going to be there, and because we planned on him being closer to kind of like that 20-hour mark versus the 24, because we were like, oh yeah, he's going to kill it. But Mike raced so conservative and so smart that he was like right kind of at the 24-hour mark. So then when we were thinking about meeting him at the next aid stations, we were kind of basing it off that. But then he started making up all his time. So we're like, oh man, we got to really figure out, he's really on 20. At one point we were like, he's on 22 and a half hour pace. And then we thought he was going to come in around 22. So we were, we kind of dialed it in between 20 and 22 and a half hours. And so we had it dialed in. But yeah, it was such a great experience. I highly suggest even just going up to watch it and experience it for people that don't know anything about it. Make a weekend out of it like Claire and I did. We went up to kind of go to Tahoe, but we also made it like, to be there to support Mike, and it was amazing. And, yeah, everything. I mean, it's everything it's cracked up to be. I would do it again as far as a crew member. I told Mike, if you ever want to do it again, I'd be there. No questions asked. If you want to do it, Rich, I'm there. Shit, I want to do it someday myself, probably, if I can get my body right.
Count me in. I got your back. I owe you one.
Yeah, I'm in too, for sure. Couple questions, Chris. With the getting from aid station to aid station, you mentioned that you thought you were going to miss him on the first one, and I had a mishap last year where the guy that I was crewing for, my brother and I, we missed him at the second aid station, and he didn't bother to stop around and look to wait for us, and he ended up just blowing through the aid station, and he ended up running 40 miles, and then after he ran out of his stuff, he had to rely on the course and all that stuff. So I found it, to be a little bit stressful, especially after missing him on the first one. Were you guys like stressing at all, getting from aid station to aid station? Or?
Yeah, I think just that very first one, because we were cutting it so close, because, we had about 4 hours before we had to see him. So we're like, okay, it's funny, Steve. So we drove separate. So this was kind of like we had a kind of like a caravan thing going, and it was Steve and Tina, and then me and Claire, and then Alex and his girlfriend or his friend Erica, and so we kind of had a three car convoy. Well, the first thing we do is we literally go on the 80 and we go east, and we're like, so we're like, oh my god, that is not right. Like, so Steve, like, I think Steve realizes like within an exit, so we turn around. So and then we're almost to Forest Hill, which is where we were going to stop and grab some food like for the day, because we had time. And I had to take a pee, so there was like all these porta potties lined up on the highway. So Claire and I stop and pee, and then we get to the Rayleighs, and we're like, Steve, where are you? And Tina, where are you guys? And they went 5 exits past the actual exit that they were supposed to. So we ended up at the Rayleighs before them. So then we all kind of like dial it in, and we get to Rayleighs, we get food, whatever. You know, they get coffee and all this stuff, and we kind of try to load up for the day, and then we're supposed to drop a car off at the Forest Hill like elementary school. That's kind of the Forest Hill aid station. That's where Steve was going to pick up Mike later in the race. It's mile 62, and so they're driving in front of us, and it's them four in the same car, and then Claire and I following, and they're driving in front of us, and they drive, I'm sorry, we're still in three cars, but they drive past. They drive past the elementary school, and I text them, I'm like, you guys just passed the elementary school. We got to drop a car off there, you know? And they're like, so they had to loop back and drop the car off. And then all four of them got in the same car. And then that was like the biggest time crunch, because we knew from where we were, it was only like 10 miles, but since the roads are so windy and turny and twisty and turny, it takes like an hour almost to get there. And then we were going to have to shuttle in. So we had to deal with some of the time, like take that time into consideration. But we didn't have to shuttle in. We ended up getting to drive right to that aid station, that very first one. So that was the only one that was really stressful to get to, because the next one was at mile 55, and we went there pretty much straight away because that was on our way back from that very first aid station. So everything, the way, I think this is why Mike ended up doing it this way. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but the way it worked is we went to the farthest one first, and then we kind of came backward along the course, and it was much easier to get to. There was some downtime at the second aid station, so we knew we weren't going to miss them there. The third aid station, we knew we weren't going to miss them either, because we were only literally 20 minutes away. He had to run about 7 or 8 miles, and we were only 20 minutes away, so that was easy. And then the one in between that, we had a longer wait, so we really thought we were just going to miss him on that first one, but I think the excitement of it and everything was, I would describe my feeling as crewing as more of excitement, like anxiousness for him, like to see him and to like help him and like all that. I think that's what was more of the feeling I had. I wasn't stressed or anything. I think it was just making sure he was taken care of, and that, like, I think that was kind of the driving force. So, yeah. Right
on. And you mentioned that, it was inspirational, and, I know you have aspirations to run a 50K and then progress from there. What was Claire's thoughts? Has she got the ultra bug yet, or what?
You know what? It's funny. So like a couple weeks ago, or maybe now a month ago, Mike Warden came over, and I worked on him, and and we went out to lunch, and he kept kind of bugging Claire. He's like, all right. He's like, I want you to, cause he always runs the Tarawera 100Ks in New Zealand. And, he's like, that should be your debut. He's like, you need to run that, blah, blah, blah. And Claire's like, I don't know, and after after Western States though, I have to say, Claire, that was the first time since the Olympic trials that I've heard Claire actually want to do something in running again. So it was pretty cool, hearing her say that. She's like, maybe I will do that New Zealand race. Maybe I will do this. She's like, this is really fun. She had a blast. I think we all did. I think the whole crew, it was like a kumbaya team building effort thing. Yeah. It was, I don't even know how to describe it, but it just, I think the vibe of the whole thing was so positive. It's hard to get down in something so much bigger than just one small thing. I think with ultra running in general, and with that race in general, it's more of you're sustaining, it just kind of moving progressively forward versus getting down on yourself. There's really no time to get down on yourself with something like that. I mean, Mike's coach, David Laney, I saw him at mile 55, and he was having a rough day. And that dude was just a warrior, just pushing through. He looked so beat at mile 55 and still finished. It was just but and his parents were there, so that was so rad to see. They were crewing for him, and so it's just seeing the different people come through. There's no time to be oh God, like, oh, he looks so bad. Like, it's just like, no, just keep going, just go, just cheering for him and pushing him forward, because there's no room for negativity in that whole entire atmosphere of that race. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a different world, and I think everyone that experiences that, whether it be as a racer firsthand or as a crew member for the first time, it's tough to get back on the roads. It's just a different vibe, a different community. Everyone is very positive, and probably 99% of the people that are working those aid stations have run ultras before. So they understand it. They get what you're going through, and they just want to do everything that they can to get you out the door and moving forward and get you to that finish line. And you don't experience that with the road race, because you have the local high school pep squad or whatever that's working an aid station for community service, or someone's wife that doesn't run, and they don't necessarily understand what it is or what you're going through, and it's just they just hurry you through. I mean, there's support there, but everyone that's involved with the ultra races is more than likely an ultra runner or has run an ultra before, so they get the whole environment. And like you said, they're so positive, and they want to fill up your bottles for you, and whatever you need to get back up and get going, they're going to get you to it and get you doing it. So it's definitely it might be cliche to say, but for me, running 100 miles was definitely a life-changing experience, and I definitely learned a lot as a crew member last year too.
It's a perfect way to put it, Rich. Life changing is definitely a term. I didn't feel it myself as far as like going through the pain and the distance and the fatigue, but as far as life changing, like something to see, I would say that was one of the more life changing as far as inspiring and kind of just like to see how far humans can push their bodies is just like. I'm amazed. I'm amazed, and I'm fascinated by the human body. That's why I got into what I do. But to actually see it in person, and to see that is amazing. It's just amazing. I can't even think of a better word. But yeah, it's to see it in person is undescribable with words in my mind. Until you see that, and you can't, and the thing is that you can't take any of it for granted when you're out there running, and you kind of know that as a spectator too, because you kind of know. I mean, we found out that like Magda, she was going in, she was probably the favorite to win, and I think she only made it 15 miles because she was sick, and she was I think she had gotten a fever or something, and she was one of the favorites to win going in, and I mean, she didn't even make it 20 miles. She didn't make it we didn't even get to see her at all. So it's kind of like one of those things, like you can't go into this distance and just taking it for granted. Like, you go into even a marathon, you can be like, I'm going to finish, like even if I have to walk, I'll finish, whatever. Like you could probably get through a marathon, even if you're having a really, really bad day, you could probably just suck it up and finish it. But to get through with that terrain, I mean, adding in all the elements of the heat of like, you have to have your nutrition on, you have to stay hydrated, you have to be able to climb. I mean, those climbs weren't easy, especially at altitude. I mean, I can't imagine. I did a hike the day before. I'm sure I didn't climb up to the elevation Mike was even at, and I was like, dang, I'm breathing hard. This is legit. I mean, I'm sure there was much steeper climbs he had to deal with, and on tired legs and stuff like that. So yeah, it's unreal. So
right on. Mike, a couple more things for you here. How did the altitude affect you? Did it bother you at all? I mean, I know you can get to Cleveland National Forest and get up at like 6,000 feet. Did you prepare for that at all, or how was all that?
Yeah, a little bit. I ran out of Cleveland National Forest a little bit out near Cuyamaca. I did go. I think it was 2 weeks before the race. I went out to Idlewild and got my last 20 miler in out there trying to simulate kind of what the start of the race would be like, and